Om Vishnu Badaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Puchaline Nivasesha Sunyavari Pashtatara Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram.
Ram Ram Hare Hare. Okay, we're right in the midst of Krishna Katha, hearing about Krishna's pastime and Leela in Goloka Vrindavan. All right, so, and now comparison is being made of the worship in Braj as opposed to the worship in Vaikuntha, which has often been done in the Brihad Bhagavatamrta. And Madhu Mongol has his hand up, so we're start reading from 202 stroke 203.
Just as the demigods who have entered the material creation are counterparts of the Lord's Vaikuntha associates, these eternal associates of Vaikuntha are incarnations of Goloka devotees. Yet, like the demigods themselves, those very devotees appear on earth now and again for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu, when he wants to enjoy various pastimes. Commentary. Some say that many of the Vrajavasis who appeared on earth during Krishna pastimes 5,000 years ago were incarnation of demigods. Nanda Maharaj, for example, is said to be an avatar of the Vasu named Drona. If taken literally, this idea would rule out the possibility that the earthly Vrajavasis are eternal associates of the Supreme Lord. But the truth is just the opposite. As confirmed, sorry?
As
Confirmed in scriptures, as confirmed in scriptures such as the Padma Purana, Uttarakhanda, demigods like Drona are partially expansion of the original Vrajavasi, and those original Vrajavasis accompanied Krishna when he descends to earth.
Okay, did you capture that? Did you get that? This point is sometimes it can be read, for example, and it is there in the Bhagavatam, that Drona, a Vasu, the avatar of Vasu, Drona did austerities and then became Nanda Maharaj. So that means at some point there was not a Nanda Maharaj. Or no, it means at some point that Nanda Maharaj isn't an eternal identity, because Drona became him at some point. You understand?
Yeah.
But that's not, and so Sanat Goswami.
Yeah, I don't actually understand that, because I mean Krishna is eternal, and I mean these are eternal pastimes, I thought.
Yeah, so what was being explained here, because my Guru Maharaj I think most probably he studied it from here. Because what actually, and that's why Sanat Goswami is mentioning it here in the commentary. Because what actually happened is that an expansion of Nanda Maharaj expanded, the eternal Nanda Maharaj expanded as the Vasu named Drona. Then this Drona did austerities, and his form then merged back into and became Nanda Maharaj. You follow?
Yes, okay. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, so that's what is explained here. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Goparaja Nanda and other devotees in Goloka expand as avatars in Vaikuntha to become Sri Nanda and other associates of Lord Narayana. The same devotees thus enjoy pastimes in two worlds simultaneously, Goloka and Vaikuntha, and so it would be incorrect to assert that because the Vaikuntha associates of Narayana are avatars, they...
Text me how many minutes cooking time?
They are not eternal. The same associates of Lord Narayana expand again in the material world to become demigods. This verse calls those demigods Pratirupa, counterparts, rather than avatars, because the demigods are materially conditioned living beings. Still, those demigods are empowered representatives of the Supreme Lord's personal associates. In the next few verses, Sri Rupa will describe the incarnation of the Golokavasis as parallel to Krishna's incarnations. That is, just as Krishna avatars are non-different from him. The early associates of Krishna are non-different from the original Golokavasis. Alternatively, the word Pratirupa, counterparts, or representative, can be taken as synonymous with the word Avatara. Then the idea implied is that the associates of Lord in the Vaikuntha who expand from the original Golokavasis are like direct reflections, Pratibimba, of those Golokavasis.
Wait, I
And
took one.
further expansion.
From the bin.
Someone needs a lessons coming from Mother Mongo.
Not from me.
Charity need to mute.
Oh, I can't find.
And the further expansion as demigods are like shadows, praticharya. Both a reflection of the shadow follow a person as expansions, but the shadow represents him less fully than does his mirror image. Thus, if Nanda Maharaj on earth is called an avatar of Drona, it is only because both of them are avatars of Nanda Maharaj in Goloka. In fact, Nanda on earth,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go on.
Nanda on earth is identical with Nanda in Goloka, and Drona is only a partial expansion, but by the worldly calculation, demigods are considered relatively. Oh, come on, move from here. Relatively, I can't move the screen, the picture. Doesn't allow me to move the picture. Oh, well, okay. Demigods are considered relatively superior to humans. So Nanda on earth is considered Drona's incarnation. Thus it is said that the demigods like Vasudrona descend to earth to assist Lord Vishnu, the younger brother of Indra. In his enjoyment, just as Lord Vishnu incarnations appear only briefly in the material world, but periodically reappear, the Lord's associates who manifest themselves as demigods also incarnate as earthly avatars whenever there is a need. For example, Sri Nanda Goparaja, the eternal beloved father of Krishna in Goloka, appears in Vaikuntha as the eternal associates of Narayana called Nanda, and he also occasionally descends to earth in his original identity. So too, Sri Balaram, who originally resided in Goloka, manifests himself in Vaikuntha as the eternal associates named Shesha. Yet he appears among the demigods as the bearer of the earth in the seventh Patala region, and he sometimes comes to earth as the self-same Balaram. Krishna's friend Sridama in Goloka appears as Garuda in two different forms, one an eternal associate of the Lord in Vaikuntha, and the other a son of Vinata among the demigods, and as occasionally he appears on earth as the original Sridama. Krishna parents in Goloka, Sri Vasudeva and Devaki appears as Sutapa and Prishni in Vaikuntha. Kashyapa and Aditi in Svarga, and sometimes in their original form as Vasudeva and Devaki on earth. The avatars of other devotees follow the same pattern.
Okay, you followed that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like, from what I can understand, you got the originals, which is in Goloka Vrindavan. Then there's expansions, just like you have the expansions of the Purusha avatars, Mahavishnu, Dakshay Vishnu, Karana Dakshay Vishnu, Kishora Dakshay Vishnu. So similarly, you have Krishna, Nanda Maharaj, and all the rest of Raj, then they have their expansions into different realms. Yeah.
Text 204. And just as the incarnations of Krishna, the source of all incarnations, are non-different from him, the incarnation of Golokavasis, the residents of Goloka, are non-different from them. Commentary. The devotees from Goloka may change their names and appear when they descend, but still they are the same persons. As the expansion from Godhead are all non-different from the original Krishna, the single fountainhead of existence. So when devotee like Nanda and Yashoda appear in expanded form in Vaikuntha, those forms are in essence non-different from the original form in Goloka. Kashyapa and Aditi in heaven, however, being incomplete portion of Vasudeva and his wife Devaki, are partially different from the Vasudeva and Devaki on earth and partially the same. Well, makes sense.
Good. Yeah, if you read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Sanatana Shiksha, in Lord Chaitanya's teaching to Sanatana Goswami, he speaks a lot about this, and then Sanatana Goswami was told to expand upon Lord Chaitanya had taught him. So there, Lord Chaitanya speaks about the different incarnations, the different avatars, tat eka atma pa vilasam pa, different names, terms, and he just gave a summary. So here, Sanat Goswami is describing it in detail as instructed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it's quite amazing that someone can have all this knowledge within their grasp and explain it in a very succinct way. So there was nothing, Sanatana Goswami was a fully realized soul in all the aspects of Krishna Tattva. It's a great science. Yeah, all these different incarnations and their expansions of the expansions and their different names and the different potencies that they possess. You could do a PhD study on it, probably, do a whole thesis on it.
And if someone thinks it's bogus or it's made up, no, let them make it up, because it's impossible to make up so much knowledge and detail to give.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because you'll find also, yeah, in that regard, there are other books on this same subject written by other Goswamis that will correlate, and also you'll find in Puranas. So in other words, Sanatana Goswami is not making it up as well. He will base what he wrote based on revelation, which is to be found in scripture. So yeah, so okay.
Should I continue?
Yeah,
a bit?
why not? Yeah.
Yeah. 205. The Golokavasis are born sometimes as partial expansion and sometimes as their full selves. Like Krishna, they vary their appearance for the time, place, and needs. Commentary. In this verse, the verb Jayanten, they are born, is equivalent to Padur Bhavanti, they become visible, and Avataranti, they descend. Whenever and whatever there is a need for a full or partial incarnation of the particular devotee, the same devotee reveals either his whole self or partial expansion of himself. The example of Krishna in his expansion is cited to clarify this point. In previous ages, Krishna manifested various partial forms of himself in this world. In Satya Yuga, for example, Lord Varaha descended from the Saukara Puri of Vaikuntha for such purpose as lifting the earth from the lower regions. And at the end of the Dvarpa Yuga, the same Krishna descended to Sri Mathura Mandala in his full form to display special blissful pastimes that would broadcast his loving devotional service all over the universe. So when someone is missing on a certain pastimes, then someone comes down.
And
Particular.
I would say no, it doesn't manifest.
Not missing, but
yeah, it doesn't manifest as they're missing. Like when Krishna's performing his pastimes here along with Radharani, then it's not as if Goloka Vrindavan is empty. The whole thing expands here. Although it's quite intriguing because there is conversations where Krishna is expressing to Radharani that he's going to appear on earth. Yeah, and then she becomes in anxiety because she also wants to appear as well. But she doesn't want to appear unless Vrindavan's going to appear.
Yeah.
and the Govardhan, etc. So you'll read conversations like that it sounds like at some point they're all going to be absent from there.
But they are there constantly. They appear in different
yeah,
universes.
it gets to a point where it's kind of beyond their grasp to mentally completely understand it, you know. But they expand here, and still this is going on in millions of universes throughout the creation. Krishna's appearing all over the different hundreds of millions of universes and performing his pastimes. Okay. Anyone else would like to read from 206?
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I will read. If
Go
I
ahead,
may.
Lord. 206.
206. Thus, Krishna's companions, impelled by their own moods of loving exchange, from time to time, want to descend somewhere with their Lord. 207, 208. When devotees who live with Krishna in Goloka appear to merge on some pretext into their own expanded incarnations, this is just like the merging of Krishna's expansions with him. When sages tell us, therefore, that expansions of Krishna's associates descend to become the original associates, what they mean is that the expansions merge into the originals. Commentary. In Goloka, Nanda Maharaj eternally serves Krishna in the role of father. So when Krishna plans to descend to earth to display childhood pastimes, Nanda is naturally attracted to come with him. By Krishna's arrangement, Lord Brahma then blesses Nanda's partial expansion, Vasudrona, to attain perfect devotion for Vishnu. Of course, this blessing is only a pretext because Drona is already an expansion of Krishna's eternal associate. Yet, on the strength of that blessing, Drona merges into the original Nanda Maharaj and joins the entourage of Krishna's avatar. It is in this sense that the Puranas tell us Drona became Nanda. This explanation also reconciles the account in the Padma Purana, Kartik Mahatmya, of Sri Radha's previous lives. Attracted to descend from Goloka for the service of our worshipable Lord, who is more attractive than millions of cupids, she incarnated in those various births, in various forms and places.
Yeah. So if you read, when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, these details of Drona is not mentioned as far as I can remember, at least not in the verses. And don't think the details are not given in the purports as well. So it's that question, yeah. So in other words, Drona became Nanda Maharaj. But as we're seeing, it's the expansion of Nanda is Drona, and then he merged back into Nanda Maharaj. So here we're seeing a further detailed explanation.
I'm also thinking about, like, when Vasudeva is taking Krishna to Gokul, Yashoda, then the Vasudeva Krishna merges into Gokul Krishna.
Yeah, that's the whole thing as well. Yeah, like Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, so he was born in Vrindavan actually. And all these years, I mean, I've never been able to kind of remember all these details specifically about Krishna's birth, and perhaps I need to sit down and write it out and give it some study, but I'm not so good at this chronology of avatars, and I can never grasp it and remember it to repeat it. But the basics I can do remember is that, yeah, Krishna actually did appear directly in Raj and not in the prison cell. But that's not directly spoken of in the Krishna book. Yeah, this is from the Goswamis. You find more details of that, like a further study reveals these things. But sorry, Madhava Chandravali, did I cut you off?
No, so I was just thinking that in the same way, Brajavasis, their expansions come. They stay there, but their expansions come.
Yeah,
And
that's
after
what
they
seems.
they go back to, they merge into their original situations.
Yeah, that's what we're learning here. This is what is being explained by Sanatana Goswami. So again, as we mentioned, it's not like Goloka is left empty. There's a big space where Govardhan Hill was. There's no all the cows are gone and everyone's gone. You know, like they've all gone on holiday somewhere. You can, or that wouldn't really, if you think about it, that wouldn't really suit the Leela very well, would it? Wouldn't, you know, if that become emptied, if Goloka became emptied, and they all came to Bulma instead, that has a lot of problems if that's the actual case. To try and kind of reconcile that Goloka becomes like a desert. All the trees come, all the all the animals come, and it's just like left like a desert. So I guess from that perspective, it's obvious there must be something extraordinary going on. That the whole place is expanded onto the tapestry of the material world. I think it's going to be described here, yeah. In the next purple, I'm just seeing it's speaking about logs, stones, carts, all spiritual. Yes. It's okay. Did you?
Like Manjaris come as Goswami.
Yeah, Manjaris. Yeah. And they come as and they come as sadhaka forms, and they're aspiring for perfection. They're aspiring to be Manjaris, but they already.
Manjaris.
Yeah, but it's also interesting as well because Yoga Maya, it's not as if, as far as I can understand, it's not as if Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, it's not as if when Rupa Goswami was when he was employed by the Muslims before he met Lord Chaitanya, or from his birth, that he knew, oh, I am Rupa Manjari, and I have to play the role of aspiring to become Rupa Manjari. Because then there's no Ripalamba, there's no intense hankering, and there's no example for us to follow. So they're Yoga Maya. So at some point, as we know, as revealed by Shivaram Swami in Vilapa Kusmanjali, then Sanat Goswami, no, it's not Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami. Yeah, he becomes conscious at some point. It becomes revealed to him by dint of his practice of intense sadhana. He attains stages of revelation, and that's to teach us, you see. So that's to teach us the process of advancing in a devotional service in that line. Otherwise, they're not walking about, oh yeah, I'm Lalita, I'm just playing a role here. No, they're not. They are hankering, Rupa Goswami. But at some point they write, you can tell in their writings, Rupa Goswami writes as Rupa Manjari, in a service that he hankers for, that's been revealed to him, and he's hankering for that position. And the services of Rupa Manjari. Right.
So what my understanding is, so they follow as sadhakas performing devotional service.
Yeah.
So every now and then in their chanting, following their devotional service, they go back to like remembering who all their little pastimes, and then all of a sudden they wake up to being sadhakas.
To be in, well, that's the story that you're probably reading in Raghunath Das Goswami Vilapa Kusmanjali. Yeah. So it's but he's actually entering into those pastimes. Entering, and then he's, he's released back into the body of an old man in Balma Vrindavan. So then he goes into an intense hankering again to be in association with Radharani. Yes.
So in the same way, when we chanting and we remember, now and then remember little pastimes, it's like you're going forward.
Well, we shouldn't think it is in any way the same as what's going on for Raghunath Das Goswami or Rupa Goswami. For us, it's just a mental effort, to bring if we're, it depends on our chances to bring Leela to mind, to bring form to mind. This is, and we should never ever, we are only aspiring for, and we're only observers. It says as far as you can go on the sadhana platform. We should never imagine ourselves to be doing a particular service. We may be inspired by a particular service and by meditating upon it. But basically what the sadhaka what the Raganuga sadhaka might do is kind of, they just try to remember what you have read. It's not a revelation as on the level of Raghunath Das Goswami. But that's the path to that. That's the prescription.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. So the Raganuga Sadhaka, they will have a favored service and a favored associate of the Lord, and they are followers of that. They're inspired by that. So that's the path that's recommended. That's why, getting quite detailed now, but that's why it's mentioned in the Nectar of Instruction that the path to remember the associates of Raj is practiced by the perfected devotees and those who aspire for perfection as well. Yeah, sadhaka it's an aspect of advanced sadhana. Okay, we've drifted into.
So one more thing I wanted to ask was, we're always talking about trying to connect ourselves with Rajbasis, like try and get to know one of the Rajbasis or something.
Yeah.
So I was listening to, what's her name? Prabhupada Lila Mehta by
Dave, yeah, I know, yeah, in Vrindavan.
Devi Shakti.
And he
Yeah.
was telling that, we all know that Prabhupada came from there. So we don't need to start looking for anybody. We should just try and follow Prabhupada,
Yeah, that's her particular bhav, her particular sentiment.
Yeah.
Prabhupada is a Ishtadev, and Prabhupada is a resident of Vrindavan. So it sounds like she's aspiring for a revelation of Prabhupada's original position, and she will follow that. That's her specific aspiration, But other devotees may have another type of aspiration. Some of them, they may be meditating upon one of the manjaris.
Right.
No?
Okay.
I'm not contradicting her.
No.
Saying that is, yeah.
Because what she says, honestly, I mean, at her age, the memory is so good. Every detail of Prabhupada said, did.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just speculating here. So it sounds like she won't, I mean, this is a complete speculation. It's probably wrong, but she won't go forward unless, no, she's going forward. I'm not saying but Prabhupada, she's going to, Prabhupada is going to take her. Prabhupada is going to, and Prabhupada will do that.
And then maybe Prabhupada will reveal one of the Vrajbasis to her eventually. I don't know. Anyway, that's not. Yeah.
But generally, it's not such. Also, the point of since I'm studying my Guru Maharaj's books, it's not like it's a whole mysterious thing of becoming. You wait for this revelation to become, to be attracted to a certain person. No, it's just the person it's the subject that you read about more, you're going to become attracted to it. It's as simple as that. If you're reading about the cowherd boys, then that's where your attraction might generally go. So if you're reading about the relationship of the gopis and the manjaris, that's going to be on your mind, and that's going to be your smaran. We're speaking about Raganuga Sadhan, yeah. So in other words, hope I don't get in trouble for saying it, but my guru has said it in his books, that it's not as if you wait for something magical to happen. You read about Vrindavan, you read about the services and follow your attraction. You don't wait for something magical to happen. You know, you actually engage in the sadhana of hearing about Vrindavan. You know, and you'll naturally become attracted into one. You'll find you're like a natural, you know, attraction. Will, like, he loved to hear about Mahavir Soda, you know, and her love to hear about the cowherd boys, love to hear about the gopis or the manjaris. That'd be something which, and generally you become attracted also by who you associate with, the person who you're hearing from and their particular attraction. Then you will want it. You may, it's general. I mean, there may be exceptions, but the general, you're going to be attracted in a similar way. That's why we're we're Rupanugas. That's one aspect of being a Rupanuga, Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Yeah.
Also, I feel that you get attracted to reading what you feel or desire, and then you kind of progress in that path.
Yeah, or what it's as simple as what you're attracted to reading. It's what natural. If you haven't, you're just attracted to reading about specific pastimes, you know.
Yeah, specific things.
Yeah, you become attracted to it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean necessarily just because you have an attraction to it that you're at the level of bhava or you're at the level of a shakti. You may be at the level of ruchi. You may just you're just attracted in that way. It doesn't matter just because you're attracted to hear about the gopis or the cowherd boys. It doesn't necessarily mean, what I'm trying to say here, doesn't necessarily mean that you're at bhava. No. It's Raganuga sadhana, which can be practiced even at Nishta. Yeah, I guess it's because I've just been studying about this just now, so it's flowing out here. All right.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions on that? Yeah. So just like here we're reading about Goloka Vrindavan. So we're going to become attracted to it, hopefully, because we're hearing about it. Here we're hearing a bit of tattva now about avatars and things like that. But the pastimes going to be, there's some wonderful pastimes coming up. So you hear about it and you just become attracted to it. And you might, if you're serious in your chanting and you're somewhat steady in chanting, then it may come to mind when you're chanting. But you don't try to you don't try to, it should come naturally. You shouldn't try and force it. Yeah, and forget and not chant the mantra correctly. But it's just exactly the same as if we feed our mind with nonsense and we watch lots of news, and when you sit down to chant japa, then what comes to your mind?
News.
President Trump, or not, or Trump, whatever. This and that. It's exactly the same principle. What naturally comes to mind is what you've been absorbed in. So if you're engaging in prajalpa and then when you sit down to chant, what's going to come to mind? Material things, because that's what you've been absorbed in. And you're not making an effort, isn't it? If you're sitting down chanting japa and you've been absorbed in, I'm just speculating here, you've been absorbed in the latest on the war in Ukraine, then when you sit down to chant japa, without effort, without any specific effort, what's going to float in your mind? Unless you're really attentive to the Mahamantra and you've got a taste and you've got ruchi, it's going to be that. So it's the same principle. If you're reading, that's why Prabhupada said we should read Krishna book every night if we can. Then when you sit down to chant japa, then these things may come to your mind. That's why hearing is very important for smaran, is very important. And then, as you heard me say before, then as devotees do advance more on this level of appreciation of Vrindavan, then they will read specifically to enhance their japa, smaran. Yeah, that will be there. They will be very specific about their sadhana. They won't be so general. They're specific about their sadhana, which is going to invigorate and increase their smaran. Okay, I feel like we're swimming into the deep end of a swimming pool. Perhaps we better swim back again. But anyone else have any comments or questions on this? All right, let's read on a bit, shall we? Interesting subject, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Right.
When I was listening, I listened and I've got these thoughts in my mind. And when the class comes up, I just ask.
Yeah, that's good. Very good. This is what this sangha is about, you know, discuss these wonderful topics. Okay, so we left Novalavanga, Latika hanging on there. You can continue, Mother.
Yeah, okay. Text 209. All this and everything else about Goloka, please try to understand in this way, without doubt or confusion, comprehended according to the philosophical conclusions taught by Narada as spoken of before. Commentary. Sri Sarupa's excuse me. Sri Sarupa's disciples may still have doubts about Goloka. He may question, for example, how demons can be present in a place superior to Vaikuntha, or how the Golokavasis could even have an impression of having seen demons there before. Moreover, if Goloka is purely spiritual, Satchidananda, how can inanimate things like logs, stones, carts, and dust from cows' hoofs exist there? And Goloka is not generally accepted to be greater and higher than Vaikuntha. So how can the dear associates of Krishna descend from Goloka to become Vaikuntha Parsadas? Sarupa already answered these doubts in his description of the glories of Goloka. He briefly recounted the teachings of Narada that Narada had given him earlier in Vaikuntha about Goloka's unique stature and
Elucidated
these teachings with his own comments. If the Mathura Brahmana wants more scriptural support, he can refer to various statements of the Padma Purana, Uttarakanda, and the Pancharatras. In upcoming verses of Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrta, Sri Sarupa will tell more about the pastimes of the transcendental personality of Godhead enjoys with his personal associates and paraphernalia in Goloka. The Brahmana will then be informed how it is that Kamsa and other demons reside in Krishna's abode. In brief, Kamsa and the other enemies of Krishna join Krishna's eternal pastimes for the same reason Krishna's Vaikuntha associates join him in their spiritual identities, namely to enhance Krishna's enjoyment. The carts and other apparently lifeless objects in Krishna's abode are all in fact alive and completely spiritual, Satchidananda beings. According to the descriptions of Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrta, everything in Krishna's abode, Goloka, is transcendental, the same way as in Vaikuntha. Scriptural evidence to support this conclusion will be cited later on.
Okay.
Yeah. Text 210. O best of Mathura Brahmanas, listen, and by the powerful influence of Krishna, I will tell you more about the great wonders of that place. Commentary. The glories of Goloka and the ecstasies of its devotees are beyond the power of words and thought, but a devotee empowered by Krishna's special grace can describe them to some extent. To encourage the disciple to listen with careful attention, Sarupa calls him best of the Brahmanas from Mathura. Yeah. Text 211. Every one of the millions and millions of cowherds, the children, young people, and elders thinks, I alone am most dear to Krishna. Commentary. Text 211 through 213 reveal the ecstatic attitude of the cowherd boys and men of Goloka. Text 212. Just as the pure way they behave toward Krishna always confirms this ecstatic mentality, so does the way he behaves toward every one of them. Commentary. This Goloka ecstasy is not just an idle meditation, it manifests itself actively in the way the devotees deal with Krishna. The cowards express their intimate love for him in everything they do, including their eating and ordinary household chores. And Krishna also shows his behavior that he considers himself their property. There is never even a trace of duplicity in the loving exchanges between Krishna and his devotees in Goloka. Their dealings are Vishuddha, absolutely pure. It is not that Krishna truly loves only one of his devotees, and with everyone else, he only pretends. Text 2 and 3. Yet not one of them ever becomes satiated. Their love shows a thirst that is the mother of sheer humility, and that simply grows stronger and stronger. Commentary. The devotee's thirst for having more and more of Krishna is unquenchable and ever increasing without limit. The phrase prema trisna, the thirst of pure love, means lobha, greed. This thirst is the mother of perfect humility because the highest love of God naturally evolves into the sorrow of separation, even while devotees are directly enjoying Krishna's company.
Okay, so this kind of highlights the restrictive nature of the world we are in. It only reaches a certain level, especially if we compare the so-called love in this material world compared to the love of the residents of Vrindavan have for Krishna and Krishna has for the residents as well. Here, everything is boxed. Everything has its limits. Yeah. It is not ever increasing. Like here, the relationships generally over time, then they disintegrate. They may, or you just learn to tolerate each other. You know, it's material because it's, yeah, but that's why there's an existential, there is this all-pervading existential quest for something other than what one can experience here. Yeah, because what everyone really wants is this unending love, a love that's ever increasing. But you can't find it here. You can't find it. And even if you do have great love and affection for your friend or for your father or mother or wife or husband or children, they're going to die. You're going to die. They're going to die. It's not going to be ever. It's going to be disappointing. Love here, generally, it's going to be disappointed, either through breakdown of relationship because of being over familiar, or just by death itself. But in the spiritual world, there are no restrictions. As difficult as it's for us little insects here to understand that their love, it described here, is without limit and it just increases. And so it's it just increase. I mean, how can it increase? I mean, it can increase every day for eternity. So like if it increases every day, because there are the Leela of days there, if it does increase every day, then what's it going to be like in 10 million years? I mean, God. Yeah. But that's the nature of that's the nature of well, trying to comprehend it, but we can't. It's not as if, because we can imagine if we give that premise that, okay, it increases and increases and increases, perhaps devotees might go completely mad and they may not be able to function. No, but it is, their love is always fresh and new. It's always a new, ever present or ever new experience, nava yovanam. It is never old, never hackneyed. And it just, as we read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, their affection and love for each other just increases, and there's like a competition, which no one knows defeat, Yes. All right. Anyone else like to read? Do some reading?
I can read.
Yeah, 214.
Text 214. Still, it is towards each of the gopis in the millions and millions that Krishna always clearly shows the greatest attachment, compassion, and love.
Yeah,
Comment.
sorry to keep on interrupting here, but here sometimes it's brought up of how many wives that Krishna has. Sometimes it's brought up as a questionable, or it's critiqued, or it's kind of eyebrows are raised. You know, he has 16,100. Is it 16,108 wives? You know. All right. Do you know how many girlfriends he has?
Millions.
600
More
billion.
than 16,000 million.
Yeah, he had billions of girlfriends.
It is in every universe. So many universes are.
Yeah. So if you're having trouble trying to comprehend him having 16,000 wives, he's got millions and millions of girlfriends. As God. Yeah, that's Krishna. But that you might, that perhaps we might not say in a lunch class or for new people. You might comprehend it. Just trying to get the mind around 16,000 wives is like one thing, right? Having 60 million girlfriends who are not married as well. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Go on, sorry.
Okay. Commentary. In this context, priti, affection, means pure aesthetic love. Kripa, mercy, means the signs that display this love. And ashakti, attachment, means exclusive dedication. Text 215. This serves as evidence for hundreds of logical arguments by which persons like me can understand that no one in that abode or elsewhere is as dear to him as the gopis. Commentary. Krishna's love, compassion, and attachment for the gopis and are proof enough to convince Swarupa that no one, not even any other residents of Goloka, is as dear to Krishna as the gopis. These three signs have led Swarup to discover hundreds of arguments in favor of this conclusion.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's just been described how Krishna loves everyone, but now it's been brought out he has special affection for the gopis. As we know then ultimately to Radharani. Yeah.
Text
Okay.
216. Yet when Krishna shows special love for one of the gopis, it then becomes apparent that she is the most dear to him. Text 217. All the gopis partake of that exalted and most perfect love, and they all constantly know the pressure of Krishna's never-ending chain of pastimes. Yet none of the gopis even imagines that Krishna has special love for her. Commentary.
All right. Interesting. Because it said before that, what was it, this verse before? Let's just go back. Where was it? Yeah, let's not, here. The children, young people, and elders thinks, I alone am most dear to Krishna. And here, yet none of the gopis even imagines that Krishna has special love for her. Yep. Beck, I guess we better read on.
Commentary. Even though there are so many gopis eager to have Krishna's mercy, none of them lacks opportunities to satisfy him by her service. This is the proof that all the gopis have attained the highest perfection of pure devotional service. Yet none of them thinks herself Krishna's only beloved, caring nothing for their own happiness. They want only to do whatever pleases him.
Yeah, so that obviously whatever do that pleases him, so therefore they are very happy and very eager to arrange Radha's meeting with Krishna. Because their love for Krishna is completely selfless. They only want Krishna's pleasure. So that's why they're so eager, so happy, and they make great efforts for Radha and Krishna to meet because of their love for Krishna. That's going to make him. And even sometimes Krishna may approach a gopi. Depends. He may approach a gopi, but then she will refuse. She'll no. Radha her devotion will please you more, my Lord. Anyway, let's read on.
Text 218. Each of them thinks, oh, when will I be fortunate enough to become even the lowest maidservant of Krishna? Commentary. The ambition of every young gopi in Golok is to someday gain the good fortune to be allowed to enter Krishna's service, even in the lowest position. Such utter humility distinguishes them from the young gopas, the male cowherds, who tend to consider themselves Krishna's favorites and presume themselves very fortunate. The gopas often feel dissatisfied with themselves for various reasons due to the nature of their exalted love for Krishna. They then become anxious to be better servants of Krishna. The gopis' love, however, is on the highest level of perfection. They are never satisfied with themselves, for their humility is absolute. Each of them considers herself Krishna's worst maidservant. Yet only hope being
Her only hope.
Her only hope being to somehow be permitted to continue serving him despite her disqualification. In this way, the moods of the gopas and gopis are different. In devotees of
The devotees.
The devotees of Narayan and Shri Vaikuntha also never feel they have had enough of the ecstasy of worshipping the Lord's lotus feet. But every one of them assumes that the all-powerful personality of Godhead is completely merciful to all of them without discrimination. The Golokvasis cannot think like that.
Okay. So this way I'm sure we can recognize this mood, isn't it? Amongst the association of devotees. And it's interesting that it's specifically brought out that this is the mood of the gopis. They never, in their love manifest the highest degree of humility. So they feel they wish to become better servants of Krishna. Yeah, just like devotees exchange, you should do. The exchange between devotees should be very sweet. Oh, you're doing such nice service of Krishna. I really wish I could do such service. Oh, you made such a nice garland. I really wish I could make so. You make such a nice cake. I really wish I could. Oh, you're so fortunate. Oh, you're dressing right. Or what? Hopefully we recognize that type of exchange between devotees, and I'm sure we experience ourselves that. Well, we always wish we could do more. But that's a sign of humility. That's good. And that's the correct mentality. That's the mentality of the Rajrasis, especially here. That it seems like the difference between the gopis and the gopas. The gopas often feel dissatisfied with themselves for various reasons. They then become anxious to be better servants of Krishna. The gopis, however, the gopis' love is on the highest level of perfection. They are never satisfied with themselves, for their humility is absolute. In this part, each of them consider herself Krishna's worst maidservant. and that includes Radharani. Yeah, I can, you know, yeah, Radharani is, yeah, considered worse Mason. So we should have that, you know, we should never think ourselves, you know, we should think ourselves that there's so many other devotees are much more qualified than us, much more, they're doing much better, more service than us, much more love than we have. You know, that's the humility that's the humility of the residents of Vrindavan. So it's good to hear about it, hearing about it. So we should want to develop that.
Krishna, can you ring me in 3 minutes?
Any comments on this question? I'm sure we experienced that in our service in the temple. If we have a nice, sweet relationship with devotees, sometimes it's not so sweet. It becomes a bit bitter. What can we do? We always want to have sweet relationships with devotees. And if it's sweet, then we're going to be full of appreciation for that other devotee's service. If it's not sweet, we're going to be envious. If it's nice, if it's sweet, if it's Krishna conscious, then we're going to be full of adoration. Yeah, for devotees to go out on books every day, I mean, it doesn't take much for me to have adoration for these devotees. Go out every day on books, you know. I'm lucky if I go out once a week. Yeah, so we should have so much to appreciate other devotees, you know. And that's the mood. That's the mood. That means we're qualifying oneself for entering into Vrindavan.
So I was just wondering, like, if we feel this dissatisfaction in our service, like the gopis are feeling like they're the worst servant. If we feel like we're the worst servant, we're more or less going to get discouraged because we're not on that level. So how are we supposed to feel satisfied with our service, or is that like going to be a hurdle for us? Like, you know, how do we feel satisfied with our service, or without becoming, or dissatisfied without becoming disheartened at the same time?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And it kind of came to mind just briefly when I was, you know, speaking just then. Yeah, so there's something else that plays a factor in our feeling inspired or not in the correct way. And that's called the three modes of material nature. Yeah. So it may be our feelings of dissatisfaction may be due to a not following the process of Krishna consciousness nicely or correctly. Yeah, there may be some offenses there. We may be kind of susceptible to the mode of ignorance or not feeling very satisfied. Now that's something else. That's generally that is material, and we're in material consciousness, especially if we feel uninfused to actually do service, or we feel uninspired in general, and that ends up us not doing service. Now that's called the three modes of material nature. Yeah, so we shouldn't mix the two. So the general feeling is that you're you're getting nourishment and joy from your service, but also you're appreciating others who are also doing nice service, and from your point of view, they're doing better service, or they simply have more affection and more love in the service they're doing. And that if we're in good consciousness and it's not the three modes, we will not be inspired in our service. But still we will have this natural appreciation of those who are doing service, which seems to be more service or better quality of service. But do you understand the distinction we're making here? So for someone saying, if you conclude, if you yeah, like, where was it said that? yeah, each of them considered herself to be Krishna's worst maidservant. So what doesn't happen? It doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that the gopis don't get out of bed in the morning, that they can't be bothered anymore. It's pointless. You know, why should I do it? You understand, the gopis will not be like that. They will be doing their service very nicely, very with a spirit of great love, but they will be looking, appreciating others. So when it says here, yeah, they feel, yeah, they're never here. Each of them considers themselves Krishna's worst maidservant. So if a devotee then concludes, say if a devotee concludes, oh, I'm useless, I can't do anything, everyone's much better than me, it's not worth me doing, I don't want to do it. What's the point? What's the point in chanting? What's the point of doing? I've got no inspiration. Then that's not the internal energy working. That's the free modes of material nature, and maybe due to offenses. Because one of the reasons you lose taste is because of offenses. But then you might feel uninspired. So that feeling of uninspired is not what's being described here. Does that make sense? Does that help somewhat?
Yes, Prabhu, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Sometimes we may oscillate, sometimes we generally we're aspiring to be devotees. So we are, and we're not, perfected souls. So we're going to feel, so this is one of the, we can identify when we're being influenced by the modes, if we're becoming uninspired. Yeah. All right. So, yeah. All right. Shall we not stop? Let's pause there, shall we? I can feel everyone's deep in thought now.
Well, I was thinking, should we not, even the services we have, we shouldn't be, what's the word, complacent? We should always think.
Grateful, yeah, very great. Yes, a good point as well. It's a kind of
like,
balancing.
well, we have to really pray. Thank you, Krishna. I mean, who are we to? I mean, how Krishna arranges, your gurus arrange, Prabhupada arranges all this service. It's just amazing.
So we're very grateful for what we got, but we're very inspired by others as well.
Yeah.
We're grateful for what we're doing, but we're really inspired, for instance, by what our spiritual masters are doing. We're grateful for the service we got, but also we're very inspired by what other devotees are doing. Yeah, it's a good point.
Like, I just wanted to, I mean, I'm not saying like there's an ego. I'm just saying it's like an old deer with a back problem. Somehow or other, Krishna arranged 3 cookings, 3 dressings, all the way to Tuesday. And I know I cannot do it. I just can't get over how Krishna arranged all that.
Yeah, and Krishna gives you energy to do it.
Yeah, just can't, I can't get over it anyway. It's like I'm not being bigot or anything. I'm just saying how we have to be so thankful to the whole parampara and Krishna.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Without them, they're just so merciful, so merciful. We just have to not be satisfied and say, oh yes, we did this. We have to then add to it on our side.
Yeah, it reminds me of something we shared on the SRS Disciples WhatsApp today, a little snippet of a lecture by Radhanath Maharaj, who's speaking in his wonderful, dramatic way, as he does, full of bhava, so to speak, how we should appreciate the association of devotees. So we should appreciate what we have. Yeah. All right. Should we any cliffhanging questions? We can field them. If not, we can pause here and we'll pick it up. Let me write it down. I often forget what verse we come down with. So next week we'll be on 219, and Monday there's a little festival going on. What's it called?
Yeah, so no class Monday.
It's called Janmashtami. And Tuesday, let's see, then it's Prabhupada's Vyas Puja. So probably, I don't know what you all thinking here. Will we make Tuesday or not? Probably not. I don't know.
Probably not, I would think.
Right. So let's just call it Wednesday then.
Yeah.
Wednesday is better, yeah.
Yeah. So we can just
Exhausted.
jump into this to the celebration of Janmashtami and Srila Vyas Prabhupada's Vyas Puja. Come out on Wednesday and get together. Okay. So thank you everyone for your kind attention. This opportunity.
Thank you. Manchakautarubhischa.
Kripa Sindhaviyam
Danam Pavanebhyo. Srinavibhyo Namo Namaha.
Jai Shri
Thank you,
Prabhupada
Prabhu
ki
so
jai,
much.
Shri
Hare
Bhakti Swami
Krishna.
ki jai, Brihad Bhagavatamrta ki jai. Gaur
Yeah.
Purva.